Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ultrasphere TCG. I'm Vicasal, and you're watching part 1 of the Guide to Playing and Understanding the Ultrasphere. Last episode, I gave an overview of the game and what you can expect from this guide. I will link that video in the description below if you want to go watch it first. Today, we will be going over the game's lore as a way to provide context for everything else. Alright, let's begin. The universe is full of many realms called spheres, and these spheres are connected to each other through a causeway of sorts. The Ultrasphere is a name that can be used to describe the entire universe, but more commonly it's used to describe the 11 spheres that participate in the Ultrasphere tournament. Actually, there are technically only 9 spheres, but for the tournament, there are 11 due to political reasons. So, what is the tournament exactly? Well, the tournament was created as a way to calm some of the tensions between the spheres. Spheres send a team of 5 contestants to represent them. Contestants who are victorious are awarded with the coveted title of Grand Master. The tournament is hosted by a different sphere every year, and each sphere is headed by an overlord, who is the most powerful figure in a given sphere, and they are responsible for running tournaments. The overlord doesn't necessarily have to be the political leader of the sphere, but they usually are. The overlord is assisted by a chief grandmaster, who is typically the second strongest in a given sphere. As I said before, there are 11 or 9 spheres in total, and here they are. Backwater. The triple sphere, which includes the Archipelago, Castellamria, and the city of Molten Rock. Bohelia, Winchester, Iso, Mahogany, Pystris, Eutocrates, and Mortel. Quick side note, I will be releasing sets for the game based on these spheres, and likely in this order. I will talk about each sphere today, but as we move on, I will have progressively less to say about them. More detailed lore for the other spheres will come later. Let's start with Backwater, the focus of Set 1. Backwater is a historically more recently discovered sphere. It was first colonized by the sphere of Atralis, which is now called Bohelia, and was soon followed by immigrants from all across the Ultrasphere. However, about 75 years ago, the causeway closed inexplicably and cut the sphere off from the rest of the universe. Without the support of the other spheres, Backwater devolved into, well, a backwater. Only very recently has Backwater been reconnected to the Ultrasphere. For many years, a man named Admiral Cod ran Backwater as a dictator of sorts. However, he and all the previous rulers of Backwater could not maintain control over the regions outside of Backwater City. As a result, many criminals and gangs rose up throughout the sphere. One of these criminals was Burgundy, a former sailor under Admiral Cod, now turned pirate. She proved to be a massive thorn in the side of Cod. Just as the causeway was reconnected with the Ultrasphere, Burgundy successfully launched a hostile takeover of Backwater. During the process, she enlisted the help of 3 up-and-coming champions of the underground arena. 2 of these people were Blitz and Melon. Burgundy saw the potential of these unknown outsiders from the small town of Amity Cliff and brought them aboard. After connections were re-established with the Ultrasphere, Backwater rejoined the Ultrasphere tournament as they had originally been a participant almost a century ago. Because Backwater has yet to prove its strength, there is no one technically qualified to fill the roles of Overlord and Chief Grandmaster. However, a temporary exception has been made, and Burgundy became Acting Overlord, with Blitz and Melon sharing the title of Acting Grandmaster. And that's the lore behind Backwater. I'll give only brief overviews of the other spheres. Backwater gets special attention because, as I said before, it is the focus of the first set. Okay, next up, we have the triple sphere. The triple sphere is actually one large sphere, but due to historical rivalries between three major factions, the sphere is divided in three, as the different countries refuse to be represented under the same name. These three mini-spheres are the Archipelago, Castelabria, and the city of Molten Rock. Let's start with the Archipelago. The Kingdom of the Archipelago is a collection of many islands throughout the southern region of the triple sphere. Most of the islands are semi-autonomous, and not all islands in the area are a part of the kingdom, but for the sake of the tournament, they are clumped together with the Archipelago. Next up is Castelabria. The Castelabrian Empire is the most dominant force in the triple sphere. They control most of the north, but are constantly seeking to spread their influence southward. Once again, not all the land included under the Castelabria name in the Ultrasphere tournament is actually owned by Castelabria. The most notable of these is the Kingdom of Silboa, which actually acts more like a city-state than a kingdom. Castelabria and Silboa are fierce enemies, but Silboa is not large or influential enough to participate as a separate entity. Oh, and Castelabria also has a dragon, so there's that. And finally, we have the city of Molten Rock. Molten Rock is one big megacity built into a volcano, hence its name. It was once a large empire, but has since been greatly reduced in size and power. As a nod to their former might, Molten Rock was granted separate participation in the Ultrasphere tournament. They also serve as a neutral mediator between Castelabria and the Archipelago. And now moving out of the triple sphere, we have Vohelia. Vohelia is one of the most prominent and powerful spheres amongst the 11, second only to Eutocrates. Vohelia is essentially a large city with a few surrounding towns incorporated into it for the sake of the tournament. The sphere used to be known as Retralis, but changed its name in honor of the current overlord, Vohel. Vohelia is the head of a massive trade and technology sharing campaign, and an anti-Eutocrian coalition is beginning to form around them. Next up is the Sphere of Winchester. Winchester has the worst case of unassociated nations being grouped together for the sake of the Ultrasphere tournament. The sphere is an arid and sparsely populated land with most cities, towns, and villages maintaining complete independence from one another. One of the sphere's claims to fame is its magnificent geography, complete with floating islands and vast untouched desert and wilderness. Continuing on, we have ISO. There are two distinct climates in ISO, with the south being relatively mild and temperate. The north, however, can get deadly cold. Glaciers cover most of the north, and only the hardiest of people can survive there year-round. ISO is yet another example of separate people groups being clumped together for the sake of the tournament. The next sphere on our list is Mahogany. Mahogany is a mystical and wild sphere, almost completely engulfed by forest. A land ruled by fairies, there is a strong magical presence in Mahogany, especially outside the Vohelian colonies and amongst the vast wilderness. Moving right along, we have the sphere of Pystris. Now, how to describe Pystris? It's an artificially created sphere for all the sweet tooths of the universe to gather together and indulge themselves. It's a land of cake and candy. Yep. So, the next sphere we have is Eutocrates. Eutocrates is by far the most powerful and influential of all the spheres. They are the founders of the Ultrasphere tournament, and as such, send two teams to compete. Eutocrates is easily the most technologically advanced of all the spheres. However, Eutocrates is infamous for attempting to stunt the technological advancement of other spheres in order to maintain complete superiority. Vohelia is the only sphere anywhere close to matching them. But while Vohelia struggles with guns and clockworks, Eutocrates looks down upon them with their fancy lasers and robots. Anti-Utakian sentiment is beginning to grow within the other spheres. However, currently, Utakidus is sitting comfortably as number 1. And lastly, there is the sphere of Mortel. Mortel, the land of the dead, is said to be the source of all darkness magic. Mortel used to be a powerful sphere, with their practically limitless army of the undead. But these days it sits alone, abandoned, and decaying, like a corpse. And there you have it, the 11 spheres of the Ultrasphere. Every character has their place in the lore, from big-name overlords to your average thief. And hey, if you enjoyed lore and world building, then I'd appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to see more lore from the Ultrasphere in the future. Are you excited to see characters from a particular sphere? Let me know down in the comments below. Next episode, we'll be diving into the mechanics of the game, with card types and rarities, so look forward to that. Thanks everyone for joining me. Until next time, Vicasal out.